Let's go back to a story we looked at a bit earlier. This is a polarising story. Some of you say we don't care about sport. This isn't a sports issue, it's an employment issue. The Football Ferns coach, Andreas Heraf, is on special leave whilst an independent investigation is carried out into the relationship breakdown between him and some of his players. On Monday, New Zealand Football received a letter from the Professional Footballers Association outlining several complaints from players in the national women's team. Now, CEO Andy Martin, who last week said he wasn't aware of any issues between the players and his coach, told in media conferences this afternoon things had changed.
Right up until probably the week or 2 weeks before the last activity, the Japan game, we were getting endorsements about the change programme, what was going on from players, from a whole range of people, some in the public domain that you'll have seen. So going into that camp, we knew we were making changes. We knew Andreas was making changes that we'd asked him to make. And this was very much about performance and making sure we drive our performance up. Because let's be clear, you know, the last two pinnacle events, as I said last week, we did not perform. So changes were needed. So we knew there was change management going on, and there were some people on board and some people not. But the extent of what's come through from the letters, there was no indication of that at all. And as I said last week, as soon as we get facts, and look, the process has worked. The reason why the union is there is for our employees to be able to have a say. And that's worked, and it's come through, and we've responded quickly.
The employees certainly did have a say. New Zealand Football President Derek Shaw said he was disappointed. 13 players felt the need to lodge a formal complaint. 13, remember there's 11 in a football team, although this is the wider squad we're talking about. But he said they'd also received about 6 letters of support. Mr Shaw was asked if the process of appointing a coach would be revisited.
We'll certainly look at the outcomes from the review process, and if there are systemic issues we need to look at relative to those processes, that they would certainly be considered by the board.
So do you concede that the decision to appoint Andreas to this role while he was the technical director may have been the wrong one?
We've got to let the review run its course, and I think it's important that we don't, prejudge the outcomes from that. I think there's some things that we need to look at by way of process now. So information, there's a freer flow of information on a more regular basis. I think that when you look at some of the things that have happened in other sports, just sort of more recently, around cycling, netball, and so forth, it's quite clear that there's sort of, a need for what I'd call a more systemic sort of check-in on player welfare.
A systemic check-in on player welfare. New Zealand Football said a decision as to who would replace the coach whilst he was on special leave was yet to be decided. It will be a systemic decision, obviously.